ever since I can remember, I always wanted to be a podcaster. Cue the music. All right. If you can't tell by now, we're going to be talking about the movie Goodfellas, the 1990 gangster classic directed by Martin Scorsese, starring Robert De Niro, Joe Pesci, and Ray Liotta, written by Martin Scorsese and Nicholas Pileggi. All right, let's get to it. Stop it. Stop it.
Oh, sorry. You asked for music, so I was jamming. I got my saxophone. I got my drums here. I got my guitar. Hold up. I think I can. Okay. Sorry. So yeah. So we're going to our second episode is we're gonna be talking about the Goodfellas, which. Disgusting. There's no enemy girls in here. Disgusting. But I still liked it.
All right. Glad you liked it. And you've never actually seen this movie before.
No, I have not.
Have you ever seen any gangster movies before this one?
No, actually. No, I don't think so.
Like Italian mafia movies? Not even like The Godfather or like any of those movies?
Nope. Never. I don't touch normie shit. I just focus on anime shit.
All right. Okay. All right. So we're going to be talking about Goodfellas, one of my favorite movies of all time, from one of my favorite living directors, Martin Scorsese, probably my favorite living director, my favorite living director who's still working. So Martin Scorsese is like one of my favorite directors. He directed many great movies, Taxi Driver, Goodfellas, and most recently, The Irishman, which is his most recent film. Which was pretty good. So today we're going to be talking about the movie Goodfellas, and like I said, it's one of my favorite movies. I introduced it to Ryu. Ryu seemed to thankfully enjoy it, and let's just get right into it. So Goodfellas is the story of Henry Hill, who was a street level associate of the New York Mafia. He was part of the Lucchese crime family. And he worked under an underboss named Paul Vario, who is played by a great actor, Paul Sorvino, in the movie. And as the movie goes on, we meet more of his friends and associates, like the two people we get to know a lot in the movie from the crime mafia. Besides Henry Hill, is his two best friends. Tommy DeSimone, played by Joe Pesci, who actually won an Oscar for his performance in this film, and Robert De Niro, who played Jimmy Burke, who kind of sort of played, who played kind of like a father figure to Henry Hill, as well as the character Paulie. And we also get to meet his family, mostly his wife Karen.
But his father was a dick ass.
Yeah,
he was being such an ass to him.
Yeah, so let's actually start talking about where the movie begins. So actually, this movie Goodfellas is actually based on a book.
A true thing that actually happened in real life.
Yeah, so it's based on a true story, the true story of real life gangster Henry Hill. Henry Hill, like I said, was a real life gangster in the New York Mafia, and in the 80s, he and a journalist named Nicholas Pileggi wrote a book called Wise Guy. It wasn't actually called Goodfellas. So they wrote a book called Wise Guy, and it caught the attention of the director Martin Scorsese, who was looking he was looking for his next project to make, and he decided that he wanted to do Goodfellas after reading the book Wise Guy. And so the movie is actually very accurate to the book, with some things here and there changed around. To make the story flow a little bit more concisely, and also certain names have been changed in the book. But other than that, the movie is a very faithful book. So the movie chronicles the life of Henry Hill from beginning from 1955, and the movie roughly ends at like 1981. So the movie starts out with Henry's teenage years. And it's sort of, and the first part, and like sort of like the first part of the movie chronicles sort of like how Henry got into the mafia as a young man, as a teenager, like basically a kid.
So so when he was a teenager, he basically go to these mafia every single day, and he was skipping school. He was not following the rules that their parents has been giving him. He's been skipping everything and just wanted to join the mafia all this time.
Yeah.
So when in the movie they had a scene where the parents found out that he was not attending school at all. So the parents wanted him to quit the the mafia area, which is under a business.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot what was the business name. Was it?
So
What was it business?
So to sort of give you guys a little bit of context, what my co-host is trying to say is that so in the beginning of the movie, we see a young 14-year-old Henry Hill, and he becomes infatuated and interested in joining in the mafia because he lives across the street from a cab stand. And this cab stand every night has like a bunch of these mafia guys just hanging out all night playing cards and drinking, and he wants to be part of their organization. And in the very first shot that we see of Henry Hill in the movie as a young man, we see him looking through the window, just staring at these guys having a good time. And so later on, we see that in the movie, he starts doing favors, starts running errands for them. He even as a little kid, as like a 14-year-old, is parking their Cadillacs in parking lots.
Even though he doesn't have a license or
he doesn't have a license,
it.
and he can barely look over the dashboard.
He was so short.
Yeah. And so Henry Hill becomes like becomes so involved in this life that yes, he begins to skip school. He begins to like disobey his parents, and actually like what made Henry. And so I read the book. My co-host hasn't read the book, so in preparation of this episode, I've read the book, and in the book, it says that Henry at that time was one of the best sort of like helpers that the Vario brothers, who were the bosses of the mafia of the neighborhood, they liked him a lot because Henry would always like he was like always like on top of things. Like whenever they asked him to do something, he did it like 100% and fast. While other young people were like fuck ups and they wouldn't like and they wouldn't do things right. He was just like so dedicated because he wanted to impress these mafia guys that he was just he was like in school, he wasn't like a straight A student, but like in the mafia, like if the mafia was a school, he'd be like the straight A honor roll student. So he begins skipping school, and then one of the important, and actually two of the most important scenes in the beginning of the film is sort of like a scene where Henry's dad is angry with him and beats him because Henry is skipping school a lot. But later, but a few minutes after that scene, we see a scene where Henry gets arrested for the very first time. Which
he was selling cigarettes with the mafia has stolen previous of that day.
So what the movie does really great is it really shows like the day-to-day lives of gangsters, and so it makes it clear that like at that time the New York mafia was really big in stealing and hijacking trucks. And
do bribery to police officers, local police officers.
Exactly.
Not the police officers that are like really into the system.
Exactly. And so he gets arrested, and we get a scene where Henry's in the courthouse, and so his mafia bosses hire a lawyer for him to get him off of to get the charges dropped. And after the court meeting,
the mafia went towards him and greeted him and saying, "Hey, look at him! He's my boy!" Because when he was arrested, the police officers that arrested him asked questions that where you got these cigarettes, where you got it from.
So he told so they were
basically said nothing.
Yeah, they were trying to get information from him, and so basically Henry said nothing, and he didn't get anybody in trouble. And so the character Jimmy Conway, again played by Robert De Niro, slips a $20 bill in his pocket.
I thought it was 100.
Or 100. Well, he slips a dollar bill in his pocket, and he says, "Here's your graduation present." And he tells him, "Hey, everybody gets arrested every once in a while, but you told them nothing, and you said nothing." And he said that those are like the two most important things that the mafia should do when they get arrested. And so after they leave the courthouse, all of the mafia guys come and they give them hugs and they congratulate them. So you see that there's like a big difference between Henry's
actual parents.
Yeah, his home life and then his life with the mafia that he associates with.
Because in his home life, his father beats him
Yeah,
for
his
doing
father.
something wrong. Because his father is a working guy. If his kids
Yeah.
is not doing what they're supposed to be doing, he just beats them. And the mother does the same, but not being physical, but
Well-
just yelling at him and being disappointed. But with the
Yeah.
mafia, they greet him, saying,
Yeah.
"Oh, good job, boy." They hug him. They praise him. And they do everything. They do so kind. And Henry, he wasn't very accustomed to that. So when he was being praised by the mafia, he felt like the mafia was his actual family.
Yeah, essentially, yeah. And let me just give you a little bit of context of sort of like Henry's life from what I read in the book. So in the book, Henry's father is an immigrant from Ireland, and so he worked as a construction electrician. And but his father could never get into the union, so he was making like very bad, not a lot of money. And from what I remember, Henry said that he has that all the kids in the Hill household was 7, including Henry. So Henry had 6 other siblings, his mom, and they all lived off of his dad's like very small paycheck. And his dad couldn't even afford a car, so his dad would always take the subway to go to work in the city. And his mother is Italian Sicilian. So when Henry got started working at the cab stand, she was very happy because the Varios, the brothers who run the mafia in his neighborhood, were from the same part of Sicily as his mother. So his mother was very happy because because she felt like, oh, it's my countrymen, my paisanos, helping us out by giving my son a job. And so at first, his parents were happy that he got a job because they thought, oh, it's going to keep him out of trouble. He's going to learn responsibility. He's going to learn how to earn money. But the opposite happens because he joins the freaking mafia.
They were very disappointed after that.
Yeah, because he started skipping school. He started acting like a gangster and all that type of stuff. And so that first part of the movie is very accurate to what happens in real life. Because there's a really cool scene that I like where Henry is busting up all these cars and he later ends up blowing up these cars. So what that scene is that in the book, that scene was meant to represent a time where the Vario brothers got Henry to blow up all these cars because these cars were from a rival taxi service that the Varios didn't want them muscling in on their business,
on their territory, basically.
Yeah, and so the mafia from his neighborhood is just making him do like all these things, like selling stolen cigarettes, going destroying other people's property and ruining everybody's business. And so what's great about the movie, again, it's showing the day-to-day life of like just like a normal gangster, because unlike say the movie Godfather, which is about the big boss, like the boss at the top of the mafia, this is the story of just like a low-level mafia soldier or associate, and it's pretty interesting there. What were some of your favorite scenes from the first part of the movie when Henry was just a teenager?
When he was a teenager, it's like how Henry explained it to what he going throughout his day-to-day life being in the mafia. The thing that it caught my eye is that he's making more money than his father.
Exactly.
And had more money than every teenager out there. And he knows how to drive. He knows how to do like a lot of other things than every kid. So he's been like gaining a lot of knowledge very quickly, more than what the schools are teaching you.
Yeah.
At that time. So, but when one day when he bought a suit, a fancy suit, his mother was shocked seeing that his son's wearing all this whole good suit. I forgot what you said, but
he said, "My God, you look like a gangster."
Exactly, that's what you said after he bought this whole suit, and that really caught my eye because, like, damn, this boy's making money, and his mother didn't improve it because he looked like a gangster.
Yeah, because funny you mentioned that, because that scene is very, very accurate to what's in the real life, Henry's real life, and what was said in the book. Because in the book, that suit that he buys at the beginning of the movie is the very first like clothing that he bought by himself. like without his mother or his father's help, like going to the store. So that was like the very first thing he ever, like very first like clothing that he ever bought for himself. But there is one little inaccuracy. In real life, the suit was blue. In the movie, it's kind of a light tan suit.
Yeah.
But that's
It's
it's
just
color.
like a detail. It's
Yeah,
just
it's
little detail.
yeah, and also like in the scene where like he's leaving the courthouse and all of the all the gangsters are giving him hugs and patting him on the back. There is one inaccuracy. So in the scene, so there's a character in the movie. His name is Paulie. Paulie is the boss of the mafia of his neighborhood, and he's shown throughout the movie. Except in that scene in real life, Paulie was not there because Paulie was he was arrested. He was in jail, and so it was in real life. It was his brother Tootie who was saying like, "Oh, you broke your cherry, congratulations." So it because so, but
Wait, break your cherry?
you know what that means, right? Yeah.
Okay.
So so in real life, Paulie wasn't even there. He was in jail. But I understand why they did that because in certain scenes in this movie are accurate to real life, except it's a different character. So I understand why they do that because, for example, if they or like in terms of making movies, if you already have an actor that you're paying to to be a big part of your movie, and and you're writing a scene that maybe in real life that person wasn't there, but you already have the actor, you're already paying for him, you might as well just put him in the scene. So I understand why they would do that because if you took that scene out, then why then the actor doesn't really do much in the movie. So I don't really get mad about things like that because in reality, for me, when you're adapting, like say something like from real life or like another source material, if the spirit of the movie is the same as the spirit like from the book or like whatever it's being adapted from, if it feels true to the story, it doesn't matter to me. But if it's like so inaccurate that it doesn't, if things don't feel natural or they don't feel right, then that's when I have a problem. So yeah, so after in the movie we see Henry being released from the courthouse, we go into Henry's young adult life, like when he's in his 20s. So in his 20s, we get to meet, we see when he meets his wife Karen,
her.
Yeah, who is played excellently by an actress named Lorraine Bracco. For any Sopranos fans, you might know her as Dr. Melfi from The Sopranos. But here is one of her earliest film roles, and she actually got nominated for an Oscar for her performance. She didn't win. Joe Pesci is the only person who won an Oscar for this movie. But yeah, so we meet Karen, and I actually really like the character of Karen. What I like about this movie is that every character fits so well to the movie. Everybody has a purpose, and everybody plays their part really well, especially Karen, because in a lot of these movies, the wife of the mobster isn't really focused on, or they're just seen as somebody who's just annoying or gets in the way. But I actually really like Karen. What did you think about her character?
Well, in the beginning, when we first introduced she's from a Jewish family,
Mm-hmm.
and when he started dating, she had to lie that he was half Jewish.
Yeah,
because mafia wears like the crosses or something.
Yeah, because most of them are Italian and Catholic.
Yeah, exactly. So they wear the crosses. So because she lied about him being half Jew, she told him to hide the cross.
Yeah,
because she lied to her parents that he was half Jew. And so there'd be like a good first impression of the family. And then afterwards, they started like talking, get to see each other. Then a big thing that happened that actually showed that he truly loved her was when he went to go protect her after being raped. Almost allegedly being raped.
Yeah, she didn't really get raped. So what happened in that scene? So there's an important scene that solidifies Henry and Karen's relationship. So there's a scene in the movie where while Henry is doing a mafia job, getting some money from this character named Maury, who becomes more important later on in the movie. So him and Jimmy are trying to get this money from him. He gets a call from his girlfriend, at that time girlfriend Karen, and Karen was driving with this neighbor of hers who she's known since childhood, and this neighbor tries to sexually harass her, but Karen refuses to like be harassed, so he kicks her out of his car. And in the book, it mentions that he kicked her out while he was still driving, so she like tumbled, so she got like kicked out of the car, and while the car was still moving, and she got scrapes and she got gravel in her hair, and she was like a complete mess. So that happens in the book. We don't really see that much in the movie, but yeah, so it was a very horrible
Wow,
thing.
that guy was a dick. Good thing he got beating his ass off.
Oh yeah, and then the reason why, and in the book it explains the reason why she didn't call like the police or like her mom or anything, because in the book it mentions that Karen's mom is a very overbearing woman, and she's always criticizing her about every little thing that she does. So she knew if she called her mom would yell at her for getting thrown out of the car more than her like saving herself from being harassed. So she calls Henry. Henry comes pick her up, and then we get like a very iconic scene where we see Henry take his gun, and with the butt of his gun, he smashes the face in of Karen's neighbor who almost assaulted her, and it's all done in one take. The movie does not cut. So the scene starts where Henry gets out of Karen's driveway, walks all the way to the neighbor's house, and in one long take, he bashes in the guy's face, and in real time, his face starts bleeding because they had some makeup effects on him when Henry was beating him. So it's a real cool scene.
And if you guys wondering why he didn't not just shoot the gun at him and just end it that way, in the mafia, if you can deal with a situation that doesn't involve killing, that's good because they don't want to get heat on them.
Yeah, exactly. So in the book, there's a scene early on in the movie when Henry is helping out at the Vario Brothers pizzeria, and there's a man running down the street who's just been shot by a shotgun, and he dies in front of the store. And so Tutti Vario, who was Henry's boss, gets mad at him because he was helping out the guy, because he knows that his big brother Paulie doesn't like people dying in front of his store, because one rule that Paulie Vario gave to all of his mafia guys is like he doesn't want any heat on him. He doesn't want people getting suspicious, and the biggest thing to make the police be suspicious is that they're going around killing people. And so that's something that's very important. But the problem is like these guys don't listen. They fucking kill everybody, because we're going to talk about a couple scenes later on where we see how sociopathic and psycho these gangsters really are. But yeah, that's true that you mentioned that. And actually what's very funny is like I want to talk about that scene in the club. So there's a scene early on in the movie where all the gangsters are hanging out in this club. And there's this very famous scene while they're all joking around and sitting at a table. Tommy, who's played by Joe Pesci, and the character Tommy is a hothead. He's always pissed off, and he's always ready to shoot or beat the crap out of anybody. So they're all joking around, and Henry says to Tommy, "You're a funny guy."
Oh, that iconic scene.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he says, "You're a funny guy," and then so in the scene, it's later revealed that Tommy is just kidding around, just trying to fuck with Henry. It's like got him, but in the scene,
the Bond monster took it too serious. Say, "What do you mean I'm a funny guy, huh? You say I'm a funny guy?
Yeah, I'm funny. I'm here to fucking amuse you.
Am I a fucking clown? Yeah. Am I here to amuse you? Huh? What's so funny about me? Huh?"
It's literally one of the most tense scenes of the movie. Again, if you've never seen the movie, it's like one of the most tense scenes of the movie.
Yeah, so they start the whole scene goes on, and he takes out his gun, he was about to shoot him, but he's like, he didn't break. Look at him. They go all cheery afterwards, and they just start tagging. Yeah. And then when he said it again, like, "You're a funny guy," the guy pulled out the gun, like, "I'm gonna shoot you."
Yeah. Oh, but you know what's actually interesting about that movie, about that scene? So that scene is never mentioned in the book because that scene was improvised.
Oh, it was?
Yeah, it was improvised. So Joe Pesci, the actor who plays Tommy, early in his career, he was a musician. So he would play in a lot of these clubs. And you see in the movie, we get a couple of scenes like where the gangsters are hanging out in like clubs, and we see like comedians and and musicians playing on stage. So that was Joe Pesci's job as a young performer. He was like a guitarist, I believe. And so he had and so as a young man, Joe Pesci had a couple of run-ins with actual mafia people.
Oh wow.
And so that scene is something similar to what happened to him, because I think he might have said the wrong thing to like a mafia guy, and then he was like threatening him, like, I'm funny, I'm a clown, I'm here to fucking amuse you. And and so that actually happened to Tommy. So he tells the director Martin Scorsese, and Scorsese loves the idea of putting that scene. So, but Scorsese tells his actors, "Oh, we're gonna do this scene where all you guys are joking around, telling jokes and laughing, having a good time." But he doesn't tell any of the other actors. So the only actor that knows that scene is gonna happen is Joe Pesci, who plays Tommy. So the actor Ray Liotta, who plays Henry Hill, does not know anything. All of the extras, the background extras, don't know what's happening. So that's why it feels like very awkward when that is happening.
Yeah, when the scene happened, I felt very awkward. Like, the fuck is going on? Like, something gonna happen, or is there gonna be like conflict? Like, the whole scene was very, very like suspenseful, because the whole time he just like, they're having a little argument, and everyone in the background was just like staying quiet, looking at it, like seeing what's going on, because I didn't know at the time that it was like improvised, because I thought they were just being in character. No, they were being like silent because they don't know what was going on at the time too, because it was all improvised. So I really liked that scene because it made me really feel uncomfortable, because I didn't know what's gonna happen.
Yeah, and and what I like about that scene too is that it really establishes the character of Tommy being like a lit fuse. So you just
short fuse.
Yeah, short fuse.
Because once you like get him angry, he does boom, and then he goes right out.
He's a short fuse. He's a hot-headed guy. He gets pissed off like that. So you know that this guy's dangerous. So even though it was, it's kind of a funny scene and it's improvised, but it really tells you a lot about the character.
The character himself.
All right, so let's continue on. So so a great thing about this movie is I like how the movie has a very interesting structure. So usually movies usually like to do a 3-act structure: a beginning, middle, and end. So for example, a lot of movies use the 12 steps of the hero's journey. So for example, let me use the movie Aladdin. So in Aladdin, when we first meet the character of Aladdin, he's a poor homeless boy who steals just to survive. But then he meets the princess. But because he meets the princess, he's thrown in jail. He meets Jafar. Jafar takes him to the Cave of Wonders. From the Cave of Wonders, he meets the genie. The genie and him concoct a plan for him to fall in love with the princess. His plan gets discovered, and then he has to save the day. So it's a very straightforward story, and it's done in 3 acts. Goodfellas doesn't really follow that per se, because the movie is very loose. You don't get like it's very loose. You don't get like a very solid story out of that, because you're just kind of following day to day the life of Henry Hill, and it almost feels like a documentary in a sense, because we see Henry Hill, like him and his mafia buddies. We get a couple of scenes of them hijacking trucks. We get a couple of scenes of people getting shot over arguments. We get a scene of them in prison and how prison is like. So it almost has a very documentary-like feel to the movie. You okay there?
Yeah, I just dropped something.
All right, and then and yeah, so it has a very loose structure. How did you feel watching the movie? Did it feel weird watching a movie that has such a very loose kind of documentary-like structure?
Nah, I didn't even know it was loose at all. I thought it was like super serious and everything, because it's the mafia. They had everything they wrote down in the movie is all true, what happened and everything. But there was one scene that I really liked. Is when Henry finally got married to his girlfriend. Mm-hmm. I really liked that one scene of them getting married, because all the mafia comes in and gives them money, like a lot of money. and all the mafia members just gave a lot of money to them.
Yeah.
And his wife is asked, "Are you worried about the money? Oh, do you put away the money so it doesn't get stolen?" But he assured her, "Don't worry about the money," because he knows anyone who tries to steal the money, his mafia buddies will help him to find the guy, kill him, take the money back. If the money cannot be found, he will just get reimbursed. So the whole scene, I like the whole scene because the mafia gave money to this guy for great wishes in the future.
Yeah, because like I believe it's traditionally in Italian weddings, like the guests, instead of like gifts, they give you like envelopes of money to help the couple get started, maybe find a house or something like that. And yeah, so Henry feels confident just leaving the bag of money by the table and not having to put it away,
because he knows that if anyone tried to steal it, they'd be dead.
Yeah, because the thing about Henry though is like it's explained in the book, because Henry is so connected with the Vario brothers, well, especially with Paulie Vario, who's a very respected mafia boss,
and also he looks up to him as a father figure.
Yeah, because he's connected with him, nobody ever wants to mess with him or like try to steal from him, because they know if they mess with Henry, they're messing with Paulie.
So yeah, in the mafia, if you mess with someone like a little grunt, you're basically messing with the mafia boss of him.
Yeah. So like for example, in the book, it explains that if you want to kill somebody who's connected with a member of if you're going to kill somebody who's connected with a crew from the mafia, you have to get permission from their boss before you can kill them, even if they're not, say, even if they're just a low level soldier or associate, you still have to get permission from the mafia boss, because if you mess with that person, the boss of the mafia is going to come after you, because associates or soldiers in the mafia are earners, because the low level guys have to earn money for the bosses. And so if you kill somebody, and if they're like a top earner, the mafia is going to come after you. So nobody messes with nobody even messes with like Henry Hill unless they're like higher ranking than him. And Henry knows that if he messes with someone who's higher ranking than him, he's going to be in trouble.
And he's going to be the one who dies.
Yeah, and so and now that I mentioned that, let's talk about like one of the most important scenes in the movie that kind of like ruins like the whole characters' lives. The death of Billy Bats. Do you remember that scene?
Billy Bats, if you can refresh my mind.
All right, so there's a scene in the middle of the movie where so it takes place at Henry's restaurant, and
oh yeah, the big boss of the guy who has a short fuse used to work with Billy Bats.
Yeah,
and then they just
so in this scene, we're in Henry's restaurant, and Jimmy, another of a member of Henry's crew, is at the bar. Henry is tending to the people at his restaurant, but there's also a celebration going on because a gangster just got released from prison. His name was Billy Bats, and he was part of the Colombo crew, which is from New York. And Tommy walks in because he's on a date. And Billy Bats knows Tommy from when Tommy was a kid, and Tommy used to shine shoes for mafia guys to make a little bit of money as a kid. And so Billy Bats is just he's kind of trolling him in a sense. He's making jokes about him. He's trying to make him, he's trying to embarrass him, humiliate him a little bit. So he's just making all these jokes, and Tommy gets angry, and he's just about to beat up Billy Bats. But Jimmy and Henry stop him, because they know if he even puts his hands on Billy Bats, he could die, because Billy Bats is known as something, because Billy Bats is a made man. So in terms of the mafia, if you're made, you're officially part of a mafia crew. So once you're official member of the crew, nobody can touch you. but you can mess with anybody. You can even kill people if they're not made as well. And so but and so basically you're untouchable. You're protected by your mafia boss, and nobody can touch you. So they know that if not Henry, if Tommy does anything that even lays his hands on bats, he's dead.
Completely dead. Like he will destroy you. Dead.
Exactly. So Tommy is like so pissed off. So what him and Jimmy do is that they devise a plan. They devise a plan to keep Billy Bats at the restaurant, keep him at the bar, and just have him drink and drink and drink until everybody leaves. And so later that night, the only four people in the restaurant are Henry, Tommy, Jimmy, and Billy Bats. So Jimmy and Billy Bats are sitting at the bar and they're discussing some mafia business. But at the same time, Tommy is sneaking up from behind and he starts beating up on Billy Bats. And Jimmy even joins in on beating up Billy Bats while Henry is locking the doors and making sure nobody sees.
Mm-hmm.
And so they beat up Billy Bats, and after they beat him unconscious, which they think they killed him, they wrap him up in a tablecloth, and they're gonna go bury him. But first, they have to get a shovel from Tommy's mom's house, and that's
So
another
they went to go to Tommy's house to get that shovel, and then he met the mother, and the mother cooks them a very good meal.
Yeah, so
but
it's like,
in the mafia, they respect their mothers
Yes.
because, well, you like explain because you will explain more better than me.
Yeah, because it's sort of weird because in like Italian culture, men like really love and respect their mothers. And so, but the mothers are also very caring towards their children, especially their sons. It's kind of, I wouldn't say it's weird because I don't want to offend anybody, but it's kind of nice. So she actually cooks them like a full meal at like 3 a.m. in the morning. And so she makes them like some sausage and peppers, some pasta, and they're just sitting around and they're having a nice conversation. But meanwhile, in the back of the viewer's mind, they know that Billy Bats is still in the trunk, like trying to escape. Like there's even like they even cut to the trunk, and you can hear like Billy Bats.
Yeah, bumping noises in the back, him trying to escape.
Yeah,
At
him
the
trying to
same time,
escape.
not getting noticed.
Exactly. But what's interesting about that scene is that Tommy's mother is played by Martin Scorsese, the writer director's actual mother.
Shit, I didn't know that at all.
Yeah, so that's his actual mother, and actually, she appears in a couple of his movies, just like as a small character. And she's always interesting to. It's always interesting to see her in his movies. So yeah, so they go and bury Billy Bats, and then Paulie, the boss over Jimmy, Tommy, and Henry, is going around asking, "Hey, have you heard about this guy who got whacked? Like his crew is looking for him." And Henry, and I think this is like probably like the first time he ever lies to Paulie, saying like, "No, I didn't. I've never heard of him. I don't know anything about him." And then he's just like, "Oh, but just keep an eye out because his crew is busting my balls over this guy." And so yeah, so they have a really big problem with Billy Bats, and later on in the movie, it's gonna bite them in the ass big time. Well, mostly one character, not everybody, but it's definitely gonna bite them in the ass later on.
Exactly, and in the future scene, they were gonna make a property at the area they buried the body, so they had to move it at one point, so the police won't find it after like people go in, do the construction, making holes, and they found the body, and so the police won't get involved because if the police get involved, they're in hot shit. Everyone's gonna be in top gear saying, "All right, we gotta be complete silent," and all the mafia group that belonged to him would have went back to him
Yeah.
and figured it out pretty quickly before the police could, and they just got off the people that were involved.
Exactly. And what's interesting about the death of Billy Bats is that so after that scene, it's sort of like the movie sort of changes because at the beginning of the movie we see Henry as a teenager. He's learning the ways of the mob. He becomes like an associate, and we see like all the perks and benefits that he gets for being in the mob. He gets to cut in line at the stores in his neighborhood. He gets treated with respect. He makes a lot of money. And also when he's an adult, he gets to cut in line to get into fancy nightclubs
Because of the mafia.
because of the mafia. Because most of those nightclubs in New York during like the 50s and 60s were owned by the actual mafia. And so because he's connected with Paul Vario, he can just cut in line, and the waiters will even bring like a table from like the storage room and set it down there, while all the normal people, all the regular people who are not connected, have to wait outside for them to
hours.
For hours, exactly. And in the movie it's shown to us in a very cool one shot. So this one shot starts from outside of the club. Henry gives his car to the valet. Him and his, at that time, girlfriend, Karen, walk into the club from the back, and we see them walk from the back exit to all the way into the kitchen, and then we see like the whole kitchen.
And then all the kitchen kids start working, saying hello to Henry.
Yeah, everybody says hello to him. The waiters, the bus boys, the cooks, everybody's saying hello to him.
They're like, hello, Henry, hello.
Yeah, because they know him. And then so when they finally get to the dining area, the waiters bring in a table and 2 chairs for him and Karen, and even like one of his like mafia buddies even sends a bottle of wine, I think either wine or champagne, to his table. Yeah,
wine. I remember correctly. They brought wine to the table, and they say they all raised their glass to Henry and his girlfriend at the time, saying, "Get a drink, enjoy yourself," basically.
Yeah, and so he's very respected at this time. So this scene kind of takes place during like the early 60s. And that scene, Karen asks Henry, "What do you do?" And he says, "Oh, I'm a union delegate."
I thought he said he was a construction worker.
Well, he says, "I'm in construction." And she says, you don't look like you're in construction." He says, "No, I'm a union delegate." So it's like he's like lying to her, saying that he works for the union, which in real life, he's not exactly lying to her, but
because
he's not exactly.
Some of the mafia was inside the union, right?
Yeah, so
giving out money.
Exactly.
That's the one thing I do remember about the mafia. They created a union for themselves to give money to the mafia.
Well, they didn't exactly create the union. They got into the union business through connections. But in real life, Henry, when he was like 16, the mafia got him a job as a union job in a construction for a construction company. But Henry would not show up at all, and so it was like kind of a scam, because the paycheck that Henry was earning week to week, part of that money was being shared with the mafia. So they were scamming the union. So in a sense, Henry was in the construction union, but
wasn't working.
But he wasn't working. So in a way, he wasn't lying to Karen. But there you sort of start to see how Karen gets sort of like infatuated with Henry and his lifestyle. And it kind of reveals a little bit something about her character, that, you know, she's a normal girl, but
she likes the bad side of people, and it turns her on.
Well, kind of, yeah, because in the book, the way that that she describes her life is it's very boring, very suburban. Her parents were, you know, just normal working people. She never had like that much excitement. So her seeing this life was very interesting. And also, and something to add, so around this time, the movie takes, so when she and Henry are first dating, the movie takes place in the early 60s. Around this time, the public did not know that much about the mafia. Many people in America did not even know that there was any like mafia in New York, because the mafia was sort of like the dirty little secret of like the Italian community. And so so this whole world was completely new to Karen.
Yep.
So anyways, let's skip over to the scene where Henry gets arrested and sent to jail. What did you think about that jail scene?
Well, the jail scene, I see how the mafia has been treated differently than every other commoner.
Mm-hmm.
Because the mafia gets these private rooms with lights, grills, actual good food.
Yes.
And they cook everything and everything. They have everything because they got everything through bribery. And they get their wives, their kids to bring food in and smuggle it in for them as well.
Exactly. And
And it was like very, very like mind open. Like the mafia can control anybody if they have influence or give them money
Exactly.
to get away with everything they want to do. And at that time, the mafia had a big rule to not deal with drugs.
Mhm.
And Henry, at the time in the prison, to get by, he sell drugs to people
Yeah.
around. And when he finally got out from the prison, Paulie told him that he said he understood the situation he was in, but stop
Right.
because he doesn't want to have any heat on him.
Yeah. And so that prison scene is very accurate. Well, according to the book, it's very accurate to like how actually it happened. But what they don't mention is how they actually like get like all these perks. The reason why they get like all these perks is because they have to pay off the guards. So so these guys are every week they're paying the guards like $5,000, $6,000. Some of them even pay up to $1,000 to get like all the extras. And yeah, and so it's a very interesting scene seeing how the mafia was able to corrupt the whole like criminal justice system for them to get like all the perks and like good food and even like alcohol. They even got like scotch and wine and all that stuff. And yeah, so in the prison, Henry does have to sell drugs in order for him to keep up his lifestyle. But also at the same time, in prison, according to the book, Henry applies to college. So he actually gets a college education while in prison, because at that time when he was sent to prison, Henry was actually pretty illiterate. He couldn't even read like that much.
Oh yeah, because he skipped school and everything.
Exactly. And because he enrolled in college, according to the book, the government gave him like $600 or something like that, as for him to like pay for college. But instead of paying for college, instead of using the money to pay for college, he just gave it to Karen and the girls so that they can support themselves.
Wow, that's actually a good father figure at that point, but he was still being a dirtbag.
Yeah.
Still.
Because and you mentioned that Paulie told him not to deal drugs anymore. So one thing that I find actually very interesting about this movie is that this movie has no likable characters. Nobody is like a role model. Nobody is like a good character. They're basically all of them are scumbags. Even Paulie, because in the movie, Paulie's character is made to seem like a loving father figure to Henry, and then he helps him out. He gives him advice, and and he teaches him everything. But what's interesting about this scene is that Paulie tells Henry not to deal drugs, not because he doesn't want Henry to like get addicted to drugs or get in trouble because of it, because he tells Henry he doesn't want him to get into drugs, because if he gets into drugs, the police are going to come after him as well. And because he knows Henry, they're going to give him the charge of being associated or an accomplice to his drug crimes. And then he's going to get 20 years like that. And so at that time, Paulie
was just looking out for his own ass.
Yeah, he was just looking out for his own interests. So some people might see the scene as, oh, this is Henry's father figure reaching out to him, trying to make him like go like turn to the right path. But
turn clean.
But you
in
have
the
to
mafia sense.
But you have to remember that that even though in the movie they don't make Paulie like the most violent character, in real life, Paul Vario was a bastard. He was an abusive, violent bastard, and he wasn't afraid to kill anybody. So it's very interesting that this movie really, if you really think about it, does not have any likable characters. Yet it's still like a classic. It's a very beloved and critically acclaimed classic, and I find that actually very interesting. Moving ahead, so after Henry gets released from prison, the movie goes into this sort of subplot about the Lufthansa heist. The Lufthansa heist was this heist that Henry's crew pulled off in the 1970s. So Lufthansa is a German airline, and so there's this character named Maury. in the movie. In real life, his name was Marty. So Maury is a degenerate gambler. He's always borrowing money from people. He's always gambling away his money. Even though he has his own business, he never has any money, and he's always broke because he's just gambling and gambling it away.
Which I think he was a ditchwad the whole time.
Yeah, and he's like one of the most unlikable characters in the movie.
Yeah, I didn't like him.
Yeah. So Maury in the movie, he gets through his connections, he learns that the German airline Lufthansa is going to be delivering like millions of dollars to the airport, to the JFK airport, and he tells Henry, "Hey, look, there's this big score over at JFK airport because Lufthansa is going to bring millions of dollars into the country." And so if you guys can figure out how to break in, you guys give me a cut of the money. So Henry brings it up to Jimmy. Now, we haven't really talked a lot about Jimmy Conway's character. So in the movie, there's three like main mafia guys that we follow: Henry, Tommy, and Jimmy. And Jimmy is 10 years older than Tommy and Henry. So he's more experienced and he's more clever than both of them. So Jimmy, played by Robert De Niro, he loves to steal. His character is that he loves to steal, he loves to intimidate people, and he's always planning like some kind of scheme to steal money. And so Jimmy comes up with a plan to rob the airport. And so he puts together a crew. So he puts together a crew of including Tommy, another guy named Carbone, another minor character that we meet earlier named Frenchie, and then
wait, is Frenchie the musician, right?
No, that's not. I'm gonna get to him. No, Frenchie is like a guy who actually works for the airport, so he can get them into the airport easily.
Okay, gotcha. I got him messed up with someone else.
There's this dumbass named Johnny Roast Beef, who later in the movie we see something horrible happen to him and his wife. And then finally, Stax Edwards as the getaway driver. And Stax Edwards is actually an African American who used to hang out a lot with Henry and his crew. And actually,
that was the one I was trying to.
So in the book, Wise Guy, Stax Edwards was actually really good friends with Tommy DeSimone, Joe Pesci's character. But in the movie, they didn't really go into that. So these guys were the guys that Jimmy put together to steal the money. So unfortunately, one of the things that I don't like about this movie is that we don't actually see the Lufthansa heist. We only learn that Jimmy and his crew were able to pull off the heist
through a radio.
Yeah, was through a radio. So there's a scene where Henry is taking a shower and he's listening to the radio, and then there's like a breaking news flash, and the reporter on the radio says that the Lufthansa airline has been that they robbed like $6 million from the Lufthansa airport. From JFK airport and the Lufthansa airline. And then Henry is just like banging on his wall, and he was like, "Yeah, Jimmy, woo!" And then from there we skip over to Christmas. So during Christmas time, the mafia is having like a Christmas party at one of their bars and
celebrating their successful heist.
Yeah, exactly. They're celebrating their successful heist from Lufthansa, but the big problem that Jimmy has is that the guys in his crew are already spending money on expensive things.
That was a big no-no because it brings eyes on them.
Yeah, it's going to bring a lot of attention from the police.
Exactly, because when they see a whole group of mafia members having expensive shit, they're like, all right, contact clues, these are the ones who did it.
Yeah, because the police are going to put two and two together, and they're going to arrest one of them, and they're going to interrogate them, and they're probably going to get them to talk about the crime. So there's a scene where like Jimmy confronts this one guy named Johnny Roast Beef. I know, stupid name, but he confronts this guy, and so he just got married, and he bought his wife a pink Cadillac car,
which he put his mother's name on it.
That's true, but you're driving around in a bright pink Cadillac. Who is not going to get suspicious? And so he yells at this guy and he tells him to go return the car. And then later, another one of the guys who helped him out in the Lufthansa heist, his girlfriend or wife, they don't really say who, they don't really say their relationship. She's or she was probably his girlfriend, because in the book he's not married. So his girlfriend is wearing like a brand new fur coat, and Jimmy gets angry at them, and he even rips off the coat off the lady because
And
like
tells them to go return it.
exactly. And then at the same time, Maury, the guy who tipped off Jimmy and Henry about the Latanza heist, is annoying and being just like annoying and obnoxious and asking for his money. And Jimmy doesn't want to give him his money
Because he's an asshole.
and not only that, so that guy Maury in real life, according to the book, his cut was going to be $500,000, and so Jimmy didn't want to give him the $500,000 because that money would have gone to Jimmy if Maury, wasn't alive anymore. and also, but after that scene, we start to learn that that the getaway driver Stax Edwards, and actually, do you know who plays Stax Edwards in the movie?
No, I do not.
Samuel L. Jackson,
What? Really?
Nick Fury himself. That was one of his like first roles before he became famous.
What? Really?
Yeah, that Samuel L. Jackson, Nick Fury himself played Stax Edwards, and he's only in the movie for like less than 2 minutes.
Oh my god, that's fucking amazing. I'm surprised you don't let him say any cuss words. Like,
that's interesting because, again, going back to the book, in the book, one of the reasons why Henry says that Stax Edwards got whacked, not only did he leave the truck,
the getaway vehicle,
the getaway vehicle, so that the police can find it, he was also busting everybody's balls, saying like, you guys are all walking around here with your money and your fancy suits, and I'm just here broke as a motherfucker. And so Samuel L. Jackson barely says anything in the movie, and I wish they could have given him like a line or two, but yeah. So in the movie, Stax Edwards, like in real life, leaves the getaway truck near his girlfriend's house. So he goes to his girlfriend's house, he gets high on heroin, and then the police find the truck. And then so Jimmy has Tommy shoot him like 6 times in the head in his apartment. So that scene was very true to real life as well. And then later we sort of see another iconic scene where like all the guys who pulled off the heist
all
dead.
died. They all died.
Exactly. They're all dead. And so one of the guys, they put him in, they kill him, and they put him in a meat truck, and they hang him up in a refrigerated meat truck, so he's frozen solid. The guy who just got married and bought the pink Cadillac, both him and his wife were shot in the head, and they abandoned the Cadillac like under like a overhead pass
where little kids were playing around and saw the dead bodies.
Yeah, and then 2 other guys were killed, shot, and they were thrown into like a garbage truck. And then the driver of the garbage truck found them, in the garbage,
saying, "Wait, hold."
Yeah, and so all of those guys get killed. So the reason that they get killed is because the character Jimmy is getting more and more paranoid that they're gonna catch him. Because keep in mind, he and his crew just stole $6 million.
So that paranoia just went times 10.
Exactly. So after that, we get into the scene of where Tommy is going to get made. So they were going to make him into an official member of the mafia.
Oh, can I spoil this?
Go ahead, spoil it.
So when he was going to get made, Henry and the other guy, I forgot what his name, were having a nice meal in the usual place. And when they went to this room where they were supposed to get made, if you don't know what they meant by getting made, they like basically do a blood pack saying that you are under the mafia's protection, and if anything happens, we will be on your back. We'll be in your back, and we will help you. But that ain't how it ends. They brought him in an empty room, and he automatically knew like, shit, and he got killed, shot in the back of the head. At that point, they found out that he was involved in killing the big honcho. What was his name again?
Billy Batts.
Billy Batts. They found out that he was the one who killed Billy Batts, which he was made. So they lied to him, saying that, you're gonna be made. So they got him to be alone, and They kill him right there and now.
and that's actually very accurate to what actually happened in real life. The mafia tricked, so his crew and the Colombo crew, which was Billy Batts's crew, they tricked him into thinking that he was gonna get made. So and Tommy, and like true to the movie, Tommy like bought like a new suit and he dressed up, getting ready for him to get made. And yeah, and but the thing about it, the thing that is inaccurate about that scene is that Henry says that they shot him in the face so that his mother couldn't give him an open casket funeral. That was not true because they never found his body. Tommy's body.
Really? They never found a body?
The real life Tommy, they never found his actual body. But they know that he was killed because of what Henry told the police. So yeah. So Tommy dies, and then we go into sort of like the last half hour of the movie. And the last half hour of the movie is very exhilarating
because he was in drugs at that time,
Yes.
making everything, making drugs. He had like some side hoes,
Oh my
side
God.
wives, and his main wife was being suspicious, saying, "You are cheating on me," and going to the wives, and then going to the people to find out what's going on. And it was just everywhere. It was just everywhere
Yeah.
because Henry at that time didn't even fucking care no more about his family. He just wanted to make money.
Exactly. So and so basically like the last 30 minutes of the movie is very exhilarated and very chaotic too. Because the editing in like essentially like the climax of the movie is essentially when Henry gets busted by the narcotics police. And so that whole like climax is very edited. It's edited very fast and very rapidly. And there's like three songs within like one scene, and it's cut so chaotically, but it's beautiful, man. During that scene, Henry is being followed all day by a police helicopter while he's doing like all his drug dealing, selling guns to Jimmy, selling guns to his drug buddies, and he has to pick up his brother from the hospital, but also he has to get his wife because Karen is going to help him sell the drugs as well, and they have to get their babysitter to tape up the drugs onto her body so that she can go flying to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania to deliver the drugs that Henry owed these guys. And it's a very chaotic mess. And so finally at the end of the scene, his babysitter, the fucking bitch, she tells him that she doesn't want to fly on the airplane because she wants to wear her lucky hat. And so Henry's like,
big bullshit.
Yeah.
Big bullshit. She got him to get caught in the act of having the drugs. And then afterwards, after he was going to go to prison, he basically told his wife to sell to bail him out. So his wife basically sold her own mother home to have enough money to bail him out. And then when they went back, he went to go find the drugs that his wife basically put in the toilet and drained it all.
Yeah.
But when he went there, he was looking for her, and he told her she fucked up because he was gonna use that money. But they were having an argument because she was trying to hide it because she didn't want it to be caught. He's telling that it wasn't gonna be found. He wasn't gonna get caught from it. And at that point, they were in the down low. And at that point, she went to what was his name again?
Jimmy.
Jimmy. She went towards Jimmy to get some help, to get money, and Jimmy was basically like gave her money and everything. And then I think I remember correctly, Jimmy was trying to get her kidnapped to force Henry to come out because he wants Henry to die because he doesn't want him to squeal to the police about him being involved at all. So in the end, Henry basically decided to tell everything and go to witness protection. And then in the court, he basically ratted out everyone.
Exactly. So Henry Hill, he gets caught by the narcotics police, and he gets sent to prison. His wife bails him out, but now he's worried that both Paulie and Jimmy are gonna whack him because Paulie told him not to get involved with drugs, but also Jimmy might whack him as well because he doesn't want Henry to talk to the police or to let Paulie know that Jimmy was also involved in the drug trafficking. And so they talk to to a witness protection officer, and finally Henry goes to court and he testifies against both Paulie and Jimmy. And so the movie ends with Henry being sent to Omaha, Nebraska, and living his life as just like a normal guy. But at the end, Henry laments that his life as a gangster is all over, because that's all he ever wanted to be, and now he has to live his life like a regular guy. And that's how the movie ends. But the story does continue on a little bit afterwards. So during that time of when Henry was in witness protection, he was able to open up a couple of successful businesses. Karen even had a successful business, and Henry, for a time, he worked as a government informant for the police. And every time that Henry would go to like New York, he would always have government agents
following him around.
Yeah, because they knew that if he was in New York by himself, he would get whacked by the mafia. But later on, in real life, Karen and Henry actually divorce. And
yeah, they never show that in the movie.
They don't show that because when the book was written, I believe Henry and Karen were still together. But by the time the movie came out, they were already separated. And then we also learned that Jimmy was convicted and that he wasn't going to get parole until 2004.
Which he died in the prison.
Yeah, so he died. Let's see, when did he die? He died like in 1997 or 1996 in prison, and Paulie also died in like 1986 as well. So a few years before the movie, before the book or the movie came out. So and for me, this movie has like one of the most powerful endings, because we see, and what's great about this movie is we see the rise, the fall, and then the destruction of Henry's life. And not only that, the movie is very accurate to what happened in real life. And you can't say that about a lot of movies. A couple details here and there were changed around, but it fits for the movie. And then finally, the way that the movie is made is excellent. Because I don't know if you notice, like 80 to 90% of every shot in the movie the camera is always moving. The camera is either zooming in or it's moving forward, panning left to right. The camera is always moving. It's almost as if the camera is like its own character. The camera is just there. It's like an invisible character just moving along through these scenes.
It's like a ghost following you around.
Almost, because the camera almost seems so omniscient. So it's like you feel like you're actually in the scene with like all the movement and all the editing going around.
It's just like you're the person itself walking around following these people.
It feels like you're actually there, especially like in the scene where Karen and Henry are going into the club. It feels like you're actually following them into the club because it's all one long take. There's no cuts.
Yeah, it kind of feels like you're with them following the story in real time.
Yeah, and also sometimes there's little text or like a little caption at the bottom of the screen that tells you, oh, this is Queens 1950, or this is New York 1970. But also one thing that you can use to tell what time that the scene takes place in or what year it takes in, listen to the songs, listen to the music.
The music, yeah.
Because in the beginning it takes place in the 1950s, so you hear like a lot of like doo-wop and like classic rock and roll. In the 60s you hear like a lot of like girl groups which were popular in the 60s, like Be My Baby or Frosty the Snowman. So all these like groups with just girls as the singers, which were very popular in the 60s. You can hear that. And then in the 70s, it's like a lot of like psychedelic rock and like hard rock. And so so you can tell where the movie takes place because of the music. And then the last song played in the
music was Cowboys, right?
No. The last song in the movie is a rendition of Frank Sinatra's "My Way," but performed by punk rocker Sid Vicious, which gives it a very 80s feel. And the first song of the movie is "Rags to Riches" by by Tony Bennett. But those two songs really bookend the movie very well, because Rags to Riches is about a man who becomes rich, but then My Way is about a person who is who is looking back at his life. So in a way, you're looking back at sort of Henry's life. And so, yeah, it's one of my favorite movies of all time.
I really
love
enjoyed it.
I did too. Any last thoughts on Goodfellas?
I just love the scene of like the big mafia just giving in money and like welcoming people in.
Yeah.
Like it's really, at that time it was really like caring about it. It's like a big family looking out for each other.
But,
and I really like that, because family is everything. For me, family is everything. And I really love that scene and everything. But when Henry's life is going down, I really didn't like that, because why would you do that? That's fucking stupid. But of course, the mindset of in a mafia again is a little bit different with normal people, so I understand. But at my perspective, I didn't like that. That was way too much. No.
Well, I do disagree a little bit, because I do love that transformation, because I love the kinds of movies where we can see like a character from like one point, from like they start off one point and then then at the end of the movie or the show, they're like completely different.
Yeah, I like that as well, but like the base with the family, I didn't like that. It's like,
well, yeah, because the movie does this sort of thing where it makes you not fall in love, but it makes you like these psychopathic gangsters, because Jimmy and Paulie are father figures to Henry, because we see that his real father was like
a dick.
An angry dickhead, while Paulie and Jimmy were always giving him like compliments, giving him advice, bad advice, but you know, they were there for him more than his actual father was.
If his father gave him a little bit more love, and he wouldn't have been in the mafia at all.
Exactly. And yeah, so it's a really great movie. I highly recommend for all you listeners to check out Goodfellas.
It's a really good movie.
It's worth your time. It is 2 hours and 30 minutes long.
2 hours, 43 minutes, and 23 seconds.
Well, shit. All right. So yeah, it's a very long movie, but it is worth your time. Definitely check it out if it's like on any streaming service, or if you see it like on DVD or Blu-ray, definitely check it out. I highly recommend it. What would if I were to rate it, I'd give it like a 9 out of 10.
Same here, 9 out of 10. I think it was amazing. I just hated the family parts. I just hated it.
Okay. All right. So so that's our episode on the movie Goodfellas. And what are we gonna watch next episode?
Next episode, we're watching my favorite one when I was a little weeblet, when I was still into anime, was getting into anime a little bit. We're gonna be watching High School DxD. Boo, baby! Heck yeah! We gonna see some animated, some bobas, some hooglers, some big gongalers, some big hooglers. So yeah, we're gonna watch High School DxD next. I cannot wait.
You.
I cannot wait. High School DxD. I'm actually waiting for your reaction to see how you watch it.
Oh, just wait for it. I'm trying to contain all my rage right now. All my rage and my disgust. I might blow. I might get like a brain aneurysm because I'm just holding back all the anger.
All right. Well, we have to watch it and see your reaction. If he does kick my ass, you will know from the pain when we start talking about it.
Well, because the way that you're sitting right now, you got your legs kind of open, and I have my foot resting on my other leg, so I can just go.
Oh no! Protect the children. Protect the children. All right, so yeah, that is the end of our
second podcast episode.
And next time we will be talking about High School DxD.
Oh my
and
God.
Our opinions and reactions to it.
Oh my God! Shoot me now! Shoot me now!
You're gonna love it.
It was just.
Okay, fine, whatever.